From Marcus Aurelius being reduced to LinkedIn hustle quotes to AI chatbots replacing therapists, we've outsourced our souls to a market that profits from our brokenness. To understand why, we can dive deeper, layer by layer, into the icy waters of modern self-help. The Level 1 tip includes surface-level fixes that are socially acceptable. The self-help we're all exposed to is what you see in a basic library. Volumes like the classic Think and Grow Rich or 12 Rules for Life, offering guidance to the default couch potato. Cleaning your room, drinking enough water, reading a few pages, and setting goals become the norm, something everyone juggles with from time to time. As adolescence approaches, this awareness grows steadily, highlighting the increasing importance of social skills for establishing status, along with the pressing need to learn time management, boost productivity, and set clear goals to avoid being left behind. While self-help books including foundational texts like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the 4-Hour Workweek can be helpful, it's wise to approach them with a discerning eye, as they often simplify complex realities into easily digestible points, and authors can sometimes take on a guru-like persona. One potential pitfall is that these books may not always address larger systemic issues, which could lead readers to mistakenly attribute their struggles solely to personal shortcomings. The key is to extract what's useful while remaining aware of these potential limitations. The cult of morning routine perfectionism amplifies this. The 5 a.m. wake-up, the gratitude journal, the cold brew sipped at sunrise, these rituals are framed as non-negotiables for success, yet they pathologize rest, equating early rising with virtue and late sleeping with laziness, ignoring that not all brains thrive at dawn. The miracle morning becomes another stick to beat ourselves with and another metric to fail. Productivity hacking completes the loop, with time blocking, Notion templates, and deep work obsessions turning humans into machines with their worth measured in output. A world where leisure becomes a sin and daydreaming a luxury. The very figures who champion this productivity often build their empires on the backs of an exhausted workforce. The hamster wheel spins faster, and we invent a new type of progress. Gym culture has become the secular religion of the 21st century, where fitness is no longer solely about health, but about constructing an identity. What were once community gyms are now temples of self-obsession, the mirrors reflecting not just physical forms, but the pervasive anxiety of inadequacy. Peloton, with its overpriced stationary bike and touchscreen preacher, sells exhaustion as enlightenment. The underlying message is clear. Your worth is measured in repetitions, your value in visible veins. While a home workout regimen can theoretically cover a lot of ground, limitations inevitably arise. Bodyweight exercises and backyard workouts can certainly build a respectable physique and maintain good health, but eventually, the benefits plateau and a gym environment becomes necessary for further progress. Even calisthenics, once a celebration of bodyweight mastery, has been co-opted into performance art. Parkour athletes leap between rooftops for viral fame, pull-up challenges metastasize into social media clout, and yoga becomes a contortionist spectacle for likes. The joy of movement is replaced by the pressure to perform, turning exercise into a public audition for worthiness. Accessibility is ignored as not everyone has safe parks, free time, or able bodies. Framing fitness in this particular light can sometimes have the unintended consequence of making it appear not as a universal right, but as a luxury accessible primarily to the privileged. The obsession with self-optimization extends to supplement culture, where wellness is reduced to powders and pills. The protein shake, once a simple post-workout drink, has become a status symbol, its ingredient list a cryptic scroll of biohacked nootropics and adaptogens. Greens powders promise to detoxify lives poisoned by processed food and polluted air, yet they ignore the real issues: food deserts, corporate pollution, and stagnant wages. The supplement industry thrives on the myth that health can be purchased in a jar, a convenient narrative for those who profit from our desperate hope that it's true. Equally insidious is diet culture orthodoxy, which moralizes food into binaries of clean and dirty. Intermittent fasting, keto, and macro tracking apps like MyFitnessPal don't just monitor meals, they surveil morality. A salad becomes a halo and a donut a scarlet letter. This pseudo-spiritual framing, eating clean to be pure, pathologizes indulgence and erases the realities of poverty. When a single mother working 3 jobs relies on fast food, she's shamed for poor choices, not failed by a system that denies her time and resources to cook. Cold exposure therapy has emerged as the latest badge of honor. Ice baths and Wim Hof breathing rituals are marketed as shortcuts to resilience, their appeal rooted in a masochistic allure. Discomfort, we're told, is the path to enlightenment. Never mind that burnout, the very condition these practices claim to cure, is often caused by the capitalist grind they tacitly endorse. The ice bath becomes a metaphor for late-stage capitalism. Numb yourself to survive it. The $100 recovery boots and cryotherapy chambers peddled to Silicon Valley elites rebrand suffering as luxury, turning systemic exhaustion into a lifestyle choice for the wealthy. The fixation on aesthetic optimization takes this further, reducing self-worth to bone structure and BMI. Lean maxing trends on TikTok preach extreme calorie deficits for razor-sharp jawlines, while skincare routines balloon into 10-step rituals costing hundreds monthly. Teeth whitening strips and facial symmetry tutorials promise beauty as a democratic achievement. A generation scrolling through filtered faces, their self-esteem algorithmically eroded by the same influencers selling the cure. This relentless pursuit of self-improvement extends to financial literacy, now rebranded as a moral obligation. Side hustles, stock trading apps like Robinhood, and TikTok's day in the life of a CEO promote wealth as a matter of mindset. Poverty, we are told, is a skills deficit, ignoring stagnant wages and the exploitative nature of the gig economy. Bestsellers frame systemic barriers as simply bad routines, while hustle culture romanticizes burnout as a necessary step on the path to success. If you're not wealthy, you're not working hard enough, and if you're exhausted, you're simply not strong enough. Stepping into the second layer of the self-help iceberg is like entering a brightly lit marketplace, the shiny surface of the first level now broken, and revealing this commercialized world. At the forefront is alpha masculinity coaching, a multi-million-dollar industry built on repackaging insecurity as swagger. The ecosystem thrives on a pyramid-like structure where success stories are carefully manufactured and displayed as proof of concept. Figures like the solipsist Andrew Tate and his ilk sell courses on mental toughness and financial dominance, their rhetoric laced with misogyny and libertarian nihilism. The Hustler's University playbook is simple. Recruit lonely men, flatter their egos with tales of untapped potential, then charge them $50 a month for PDFs recycled from 2008 SEO blogs. This grift extends to crypto bro culture, where speculative gambling is rebranded as revolutionary finance. TikTok influencers with Lamborghini rentals and rented penthouse suites preach financial freedom through Dogecoin and NFTs, their jargon dripping with words like decentralization and fiat slavery. The pitch preys on economic despair, saying that boomers ruined the economy, but you can outsmart them. When the crypto bubble bursts, the gurus vanish, leaving followers with worthless tokens and maxed out credit cards. Meanwhile, manifestation grifters turn metaphysics into a paywall, and for a decent chunk of money they'll teach you to align with abundance through vision boards and moon rituals. The law of attraction becomes a spiritual shakedown, and poverty is more about you not being able to visualize abundance, while your off-putting vibes might be the cause of illness. One must consider that feminism isn't immune, as femininity coaching markets empowerment as a return to 1950s gender roles, where influencers sell courses on soft living aestheticized domesticity, where reclaiming power means baking sourdough and wearing linen dresses. The message is clear. True empowerment is looking pretty while you quit your job. The red pill community takes this further, weaponizing self-help jargon to mask regressive ideology. Online forums preach that women are hypergamous, and men must maximize sexual market value. There's also the trend of toxic productivity, repackaging burnout as enlightenment. YouTube day in the life vlogs glorify 18-hour workdays. The mantra, you'll rest when you're rich, but the data tells another story, and the grind might not be a path to success, but a hamster wheel greased with Adderall and existential dread. The pursuit of wellness, meant to be a sanctuary from the pressures of modern life, has also become tainted by this toxic productivity and the desire for quick fixes. Instead of genuine self-care, we see a rise in pseudoscientific supplements promising shortcuts to peak performance, often through potentially harmful testosterone boosters and other unproven methods. This trend preys on insecurities and the desire for an easy path to physical perfection. The online landscape is rife with influencers, like the now disgraced Liver King, who built an entire brand around a fabricated image of ancestral health. These figures promote a caveman cosplay, attempting to sell a romanticized and ultimately misleading vision of natural living. Their physiques, often achieved through undisclosed and potentially dangerous steroid use, are presented as the result of this ancestral lifestyle. The reality, however, is far from authentic. Their bulging veins and tribal tattoos become a deceptive facade, masking the pharmaceutical assistance that fuels their manufactured image. Finally, conspiracy mindset coaching merges paranoia with profit. People peddle survivalist gear alongside lectures about the Great Reset, framing prepping as both rebellion and self-care. So you can buy their water filter and you'll opt out of the system. It's the illusion of control in a world that denies it. Level 1's cold showers and gym memberships were merely the bait, while Level 2 is the trapdoor into a new type maze. Beneath the grifters and crypto scams of Level 2 lies a murkier stratum of the self-help iceberg. This is the domain of jawline influencers, semen retention zealots, and men who inject themselves with research chemicals in Starbucks bathrooms. At the forefront is semen retention, a practice rebranded from medieval monasticism to modern alpha doctrine. These communities often emphasize spiritual and physical benefits of avoiding ejaculation, which can be influenced by cultural and historical beliefs, such as Taoist practices. Reddit forums overflow with testimonials from men claiming that abstaining from masturbation gifted them supernatural focus, magnetism, and warrior energy. The psychological and social dynamics within these groups can lead to behaviors that might resemble cult-like symptoms, such as strong adherence to beliefs and potential isolation from those who do not share these beliefs. This asceticism extends to dopamine detoxing, a trend pathologizes pleasure as weakness and popularized by online creators, often promotes abstaining from various stimuli, from social media to sugar, in pursuit of a brain reset. Modern life stimuli overload dopamine receptors, causing ADHD-like symptoms. Proponents suggest practices like spending time in quiet contemplation, consuming a restricted diet, and self-reflection. However, some neuroscientists argue that this explanation oversimplifies the complex role of dopamine in the brain, and other critics argue this mirrors medieval self-flagellation, repackaged for tech bros. While excessive stimulation can be problematic, the concept of a complete dopamine detox lacks robust scientific backing. Furthermore, the restrictive nature of these practices can sometimes lead to new forms of obsession, such as meticulously tracking screen time or adhering rigidly to specific routines. It's important to note that while some individuals may find benefit in mindful reduction of certain stimuli, it's crucial to approach these practices with a balanced perspective and avoid replacing one potentially problematic behavior with another. Meanwhile, mewing, the act of pressing your tongue to the roof of your mouth to reshape your jaw, has metastasized from niche Reddit advice to TikTok dogma. Teens film themselves chewing rubber mewing devices for hours, convinced bone structure is destiny. There's also thumb pulling that involves yanking your thumbs to lengthen the skull. Orthodontists warn of permanent TMJ damage, but influencers counter with X-rays of progress, often doctored or mislabeled. The underlying message? Your face is a prison, and escape requires daily contortion. For incels, this morphs into looks maxing, where skincare routines and haircuts are weaponized to ascend from genetic inferiority. As a result, you get a generation of boys scrubbing their pores raw, convinced acne is the enemy. Biohacking's black market thrives here as well, peddling salvation in syringes, with online forums buzzing with tales of DIY gene editing, using CRISPR kits ordered from shady startups and peptides like BPC-157 bought from overseas pharmacies. Silicon Valley executives inject themselves with nootropic stacks to hack cognition, but in a culture that venerates disruption, recklessness is rebranded as pioneering. Psychedelic bros take this further, weaponizing sacred plants for capitalist gain. Microdosing LSD, once a tool for spiritual exploration, is now a productivity hack for coders and CEOs. Entrepreneurs boast about transpersonal breakthroughs during investor meetings, while apps like Field Trip offer guided psilocybin sessions for peak performance. Fasting fanaticism escalates similarly. What began as intermittent fasting spirals into 72-hour dry fasts, where followers abstain from food and water to trigger autophagy, ignoring that the body's detox mechanisms evolved over millennia and don't require starvation. But the fasters preach a puritanical gospel. Suffering is sanctity. The polyphasic sleep community takes this masochism nocturnal, with adherents of the Uberman schedule sleeping 20 minutes every 4 hours, chasing the mythical 30-hour day. Proponents claim it unlocks superhuman productivity, but studies show chronic sleep deprivation impairs cognition and increases dementia risk. Yet the grind persists, fueled by forums where users post EKG readouts of their optimal REM cycles. Finally, conspirituality merges New Age platitudes with QAnon paranoia. Anti-vax yogis preach light body activation to repel 5G, while influencers sell adrenochrome detox protocols alongside colloidal silver. This isn't just ignorance, it's nihilism with a kale smoothie. By framing systemic issues like healthcare and climate change as personal vibrational failures, conspirituality absolves society of accountability. Beneath the biohacking bros and semen retention zealots of level 3 lies the iceberg's most sinister layer, a subterranean world where human worth is quantified, bodies are hacked into oblivion, and despair is monetized by algorithms. At the core is the black pill, a digital hydra of nihilism that dominates forums like looksmax.org and incels.is. Born from red pill ideology's rotting carcass, the black pill preaches that life is a genetic lottery, and losers are doomed from birth. Followers obsess over PSL ratings, which are pseudoscientific measurements of facial symmetry, to prove their undesirability. A 19-year-old with a low PSL is told his loneliness is inevitable, his humanity erased by a ruler and a Reddit thread. The black pill isn't just a belief system, but it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The algorithm feeds on despair, serving ads for surgery maxing between posts about rope methods. This is the practice of extreme cosmetic procedures to ascend genetically, is the black pill's physical manifestation. There are clinics now that offer incel packages, jaw shaving, cheekbone implants, and limb lengthening surgeries that add inches to height at the cost of chronic pain. Rib removal trends among women chasing Barbie waist aesthetics promote a grotesque parody of empowerment, with your body being seen as a prison, and freedom requires carving yourself into a marketable product. Even masculinity is remade in the operating room, with men's makeup tutorials flooding TikTok, teaching boys to contour their jaws and hide beta traits like acne or dark circles. This reductionism extends to peptide underground markets, where unregulated chemicals promise superhuman transformation. Silicon Valley execs inject TB500 to heal gym injuries faster, while students buy a pig brain extract to hack exam scores. Nowhere is this more evident than in eugenics 2.0. Startups like Genomic Prediction and Orchid offer embryo screening for traits like height, IQ, and disease resistance, marketing designer babies to the wealthy. Crypto millionaires brag about splicing athleticism genes into their children, preach CRISPR DIY kits for at-home upgrades. The dystopia is bipartisan. Liberals frame it as health equity, conservatives as family values, and the result might be a new genetic caste system disguised as choice. Human connection is increasingly commodified, and AI-generated relationships are stepping into the gap. Apps like Replica and Anima provide chatbot companions designed to simulate affection, with personalities shaped by paid subscription tiers. Some men, disillusioned by ideologies like those on black pill forums, turn to AI companions, occasionally forming deep attachments, with rare cases of symbolic marriages to virtual partners. Individuals use tools like ChatGPT to roleplay conversations or emotional scenarios, sometimes as a way to practice social interactions. AI-driven platforms, including those experimenting with deepfake-like technology, enable users to create intimate or adult content featuring virtual avatars, raising serious ethical questions about consent. The bottom of the self-help iceberg is not a place, but an event horizon. Here, the industry's promise of bettering yourself collapses into a grotesque parody of progress, and death is reframed as the ultimate optimization. This is where the cult of improvement eats its own tail. This desecration of flesh escalates with bone smashing, the practice of hammering your face with dumbbells to remodel bone structure. What began as a meme on looksmax.org has metastasized into a global phenomenon. Teens film themselves smashing cheekbones with rubber mallets, while surgeons report an insane rise in facial fractures, because if society judges you by your skull, break it until it fits. For those beyond repair, voluntary euthanasia as optimization emerges as the final solution, with some framing it as a rational choice. Online forums and darker corners of the web do indeed discuss these methods, and sometimes with a clinical or philosophical lens, though efficiency debates are more anecdotal than systematic. A fringe corner of transhumanist thinking fuses Silicon Valley's tech ambition with a stark focus on mortality. Some turn to startups like Nectomy, which offered to preserve living brains through a fatal chemical process, banking on future tech to map their minds and recreate them digitally. Others lean on platforms like Eternos, which captures voices and stories to craft AI-driven digital legacies for the deceased, a paid service that mimics presence without truly uploading consciousness. The outcome is an emerging market of memory preservation. The pursuit of extreme penile enhancement, sometimes referred to as dick-maxing within certain online communities, is a real, albeit difficult to quantify phenomenon. Evidence suggests that some men engage in risky procedures, often outside of established medical settings, to alter their genitalia, which can include silicone injections, ligament releases, and other surgical or non-surgical modifications, are often motivated by a desire to enhance size and perceived masculinity. The obsession with PSL scores deepens a dehumanizing focus on appearance. What started as a niche online rating system for facial symmetry and attractiveness has grown beyond a meme, shaping how some measure their worth. Dating apps, powered by AI photo analysis, subtly prioritize users with sharper jawlines and balanced features. In forums like looksmax.org, teens fixate on these scores, some tying their low ratings to feelings of hopelessness, with posts hinting at despair when they fall below average. The community's response often points to fixes. Threads buzz with talk of jaw surgery or other enhancements, fueled by a culture that equates looks with value. In the world of extreme wellness and biohacking, a soft version of cannibalism is framed as optimization. Some biohackers in Berlin experiment with consuming nutrient-dense foods like bone marrow and occasionally placentas, claiming benefits such as stem cell rejuvenation or hormonal balance, though scientific evidence remains inconclusive. Advocates of fringe diets often push boundaries, with some individuals exploring controversial ideas about consuming their own biological tissues for perceived health benefits. Neo-eugenics practices are gaining traction in the age of accessible genetic technologies. Advancements in gene editing technologies like CRISPR have made it possible to manipulate genes in ways that could be used for eugenic purposes. CRISPR has been used to edit human embryos in controversial cases, including the creation of gene-edited babies in China. As we plunge past the mutilated bodies, the broken minds, and the engineered genes, we reach the event horizon of self-help. The industry's obsession with bettering yourself collapses into the ultimate act of optimization, erasing the self before it even begins. This is where the cult of improvement turns its gaze from the individual to the species, advocating not for transformation, but for extinction. Anti-natalism, a philosophy as cold as it is niche, argues that the most ethical choice is to stop reproducing altogether. Why fix what's broken when you can prevent it from ever existing? At its core, anti-natalism is the belief that life is inherently suffering, and the kindest act is to spare future beings from that pain. Philosophers like David Benatar, in his book Better Never to Have Been, lay out the chilling logic. Existence brings unavoidable harm, while non-existence is neutral, no pain, no loss. His asymmetry of pleasure and pain flips the self-help narrative on its head. Why optimize your life when the ultimate harm reduction is to never have lived at all? It's not about hating children or fearing the future. It's about questioning whether existence itself is a net positive. In the self-help Iceberg, this is the void staring back, where the promise of unlocking your potential dissolves into the abyss of non-being. The self-help iceberg isn't just a list of trends, it's a reflection of our culture. It exists in a liminal state between genuine utility and spectacular grifting, a kind of Schrödinger's personal development cat that is simultaneously dead and alive until you open the box of your own experience with it. The truly enlightened position isn't rejecting or embracing self-help, but developing the capacity to temporarily inhabit its frameworks while maintaining the ability to step outside them at will. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.